Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Stuart. I'm the co-founder of Utradia, a platform for investment ideas and insights. Today, we're going to be taking a quick look at ASTS SpaceMobile Inc. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what's been happening with the stock the last little while. Today, we saw it pop on some recent solid news. So I'm just going to run through that as well. And we're also going to look at a little bit of due diligence that some of our community members have shared with us, which I think is a great starting point for learning about a stock that you're thinking about investing in, or validating or checking into a stock that you already own in your portfolio, and kind of keep tabs on recent information about what you own. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So I'm just sitting on our stock page. I have ASTS pulled up. Just looking over here, what we see is a brief overview, a snapshot of ASTS, the current stock price, the day range, 52-week range, kind of standard stuff that you'd expect to see when looking at a specific ticker. If you're unaware about AST SpaceMobile, here's a brief description. So they operate a space-based cellular broadband network for mobile phones. They provide services, mobile broadband for users traveling in and out of areas without terrestrial mobile services on land, at sea, or in flight. And they are headquartered in Midland, Texas, which isn't super important, but I guess they're close to Tesla, which is kind of nice. Okay. I won't spend a ton of time on the financial summary, but really it gives you kind of a breakdown of how well ASTS is performing. You can see their revenue per share. Nice to see it kind of start to climb. Obviously, this was a SPAC that was de-SPACed not too long ago, so we shouldn't expect anything last few quarters. The market cap over the last little while, so continuing to grow. So that means it's becoming more and more valuable of a company. Looking at earnings, which is usually a good thing to keep an eye on for most companies that you own. We see the last 2 quarters pretty significant beat. I'd have to double check and see what the estimated earnings were. So we can look here. We see that analysts had set a negative 1.03 estimated earnings per share, and both Q3 2021, 62% beat with negative 0.39. And then in Q4 of 2021, they actually had a positive EPS 0.07, which is a solid sign. One more thing that I like to look at is kind of get a sense of what Wall Street is thinking, as well as analysts who cover the stock. So we can see that there's two banks who are watching this, Deutsche Bank and Barclays. What's interesting is, when they initiated following on this position, they initiated at a hold, but most recently, this is about 8 months ago and might be updated soon, but initiated a buy rating, which is a solid sign. So if you're holding ASTS, it's good to see kind of as a confirmation. If you're thinking about buying into it, this is a decent signal from that regard. Again, don't always go off purely on what analysts are saying, but it is a good proxy to kind of validate what you're thinking. Okay. Let's see, moving up a little bit. As I mentioned, let's jump into some of the due diligence that some of our community members have shared. So just looking at an overview, there's been a few pieces of DD that have been shared, all of them bullish. So in general, people like the stock. It's good to usually see some bearish and bullish positions, really because you want to understand both the positive and negative aspects of owning a stock or a company. But in this case, we'll just jump into some of the bullish positions. So the most recent one, this guy shared it, so it's about 2 weeks ago, up already 46%, which is solid. So if we go back and look at the chart, we'll see that ASTS was down quite a bit. But has obviously rebounded based on the recent news, which we'll get into after reviewing this. So looking at the DD, I won't run through all of this. I'll link it in the in the description below, and you can dive into it a little bit more. But I'll just touch on kind of the key points. So it provides an overview. What's interesting is thinking about the TAM, so total addressable market. In monetary terms, it's a $1 trillion market for the services that ASTS provides. That's always a great sign. You want to see a massive market, you want to see a growing market. In this case, it already is quite a massive market that ASTS can tap into. So this person also mentions that it's a asymmetric risk-reward play. So he's saying it's either a 20 to 100x or go bust. So they're saying 1% of the total addressable market represents about $10 billion. Okay, breaks it down, P ratio. Okay, which ultimately equates to a $96 billion market cap for ASTS, so an upside of 80x. And that's only for 1% of the total addressable market, which could be fairly achievable. Talks about the desirability. So the target segment. If you're already familiar with ASTS, you know their target segment. If you're not familiar with it, let's see if he provides a bit of insight. Help telecom companies expand their subscriber base, unique competitive advantage against other carriers. Essentially equates it to 5G towers in space. Gives you a decent idea of what they do. Feasibility. So, it's one thing to say we're creating satellites, launching them into space, and we'll be able to capture a significant TAM. What's the feasibility of this actually happening? So AST designs, integrates, and tests the satellites while their subsidiaries build the components. It's a good sign, a bit of vertical integration. Key activities. AST will design and integrate the satellites. Key resources, talent, technology, and funding. Okay, attract funding from Vodafone, obviously a large cellular carrier, American Tower, Rakuten. Okay, so that's an interesting point. So Vodafone spent 18 months doing DD on ASTS's technology, which is a significant amount of time, but obviously if they're making a significant investment into AST, they want to ensure they're making a legit investment. So they went through a proper DD process, they liked what they saw, and ultimately ended up investing. Viability, revenue streams. Obviously, the company needs to make money, so how is it planning to make money? And really it's through agreements with telecom providers, monthly subscription fee, and users seamlessly connected from towers on the ground to AST satellites. Okay. What's interesting is this person also provided some risks, which I think is always good to look at as an investor. You always want to know the risks with any investment. What's the downside? Essentially, there are two kind of key risks this person highlighted: technology risks as well as commercial risks. Okay, from a technology risk, launch delays. It's fine, technology doesn't work. I mean, that's always a risk with most tech companies. Let's see what else. Then mentions his licensing, which could be the frequencies in target countries. Okay, huge telecom companies like Vodafone. And then the other risk, commercial risks. And users do not see value in extended coverage from their current carriers. Telecom do not see value in ASTS's offering. I don't know if that's that big of a risk. If Vodafone is already invested in it, they obviously see value in their offering, so I think that mitigates that risk. But just kind of a nice breakdown of ASTS, a bit of background on the company, and then you can always, again, dive back into the stock page, find the information you're looking for, and then ultimately, up to you to do a bit of DD, make your decision from there. But yeah, like I said, this gives you a great overview of ASTS, provides a little bit of insight, some community DD, which is always nice to get some different perspectives on it. And then, yeah, up to you to ultimately make the final decision, but good luck from there and happy investing.